The moment I saw Margaret aiming a pistol at my daughter Emily's chest, my world stopped. My scream tore through the humid summer air of Willow Creek. She's got a gun. Oh my God, she's pointing a gun at my daughter. My hands shook, my heart pounded like a drum. But Emily? She stood there, calm as a statue, her eyes locked on Margaret's trembling grip. You refuse to join our HOA for the last time. Margaret bellowed, her voice raw, like a cornered animal. I was paralyzed, my mind racing. How did we get here? Why was Emily so composed? It all started with a simple decision to say no to a ridiculous homeowners association in our new retirement haven. But Emily had a secret, one even I didn't know. And when it unraveled, the truth turned our quiet lakeside dream into a nightmare you'd never believe. 3 months ago, my wife Sarah and I thought we'd struck gold. After 30 years of grinding as a structural engineer, Sarah wrangling middle schoolers who probably tested her patience more than any HOA tyrant ever could, we finally bought our dream home on Crystal Lake, Georgia. It was a charming 2-story with a private dock, built in the 80s, grandfathered in with no HOA nonsense. Picture this: morning coffee by the water, the sun rising over the lake, maybe teaching our grandkids to fish someday. Our deed was ironclad, proving our property was free from any association's grip. Oh, how naive we were. It was a muggy Tuesday in June 2025 when everything changed. I was out front, watering Sarah's azaleas, when I heard this go-doffel honking like a goose on its last breath. I turned around, half expecting a prank, and saw this golf cart decked out like a budget cop car. Flashing yellow lights from a discount store, orange cones dangling off the back, and signs that looked like they were printed at a copy shop. Behind the wheel was Margaret, a woman in her late 50s, wearing a mishmash security uniform. Think Halloween costume meets Boy Scout leader. She stepped out, clutching a clipboard the size of a pizza box, her eyes wild with a desperation that should have been my first warning. "Excuse me," she said, her voice straining to sound official. "I need to speak to the property owner immediately." I introduced myself as James, trying to be friendly, but she barely nodded before launching into a spiel about HOA fees, community rules, and mandatory compliance that made no sense. Her hands shook as she gripped that clipboard, her voice cracking like she was pleading, not demanding. Every property must join the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. The enrollment fee is $600, due today. I politely explained our deed exempted us, and her face twisted like I'd just canceled her entire world. "Everyone must participate," she stammered, her tone more desperate than commanding. "The community depends on compliance." That word compliance sent a chill down my spine. Our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, a sweet woman who'd lived here for 20 years, shuffled over later with a worried look. "That's Margaret Hayes," she whispered. "Lost her corporate job 2 years back, went through a brutal divorce. She and her husband, Thomas, are barely scraping by. She clings to this HOA president role like it's her lifeline. Most of us are too scared to cross her. She gets unhinged when you question her." That explained the trembling hands, the frantic edge, but it didn't prepare us for what came next. When Emily visited that weekend, she spotted things Sarah and I missed. She's always been sharp, the kind of person who notices details others overlook. Over coffee, she watched Margaret drive by our house twice, slowing down to snap photos of our perfectly legal dock. "Dad," Emily said, setting her mug down. "Something's seriously wrong with that woman. Her behavior screams either a mental breakdown or a scam." I brushed it off. Hindsight's a cruel teacher. By Monday, Margaret escalated to absurd levels. Taped to our door was a violation notice from the Willow Creek Community Compliance Division, printed on letterhead that looked like it came from a kid's computer. It fined us $200 for excessive dock usage and unauthorized lakeside leisure. Sarah found it first, waving it like it was radioactive. "James, this woman's trying to fine us for sitting on our own dock. It'd be funny if it wasn't so unhinged." That evening, Thomas, Margaret's husband, showed up at our door, looking like a man crushed by life. "Please, James," he whispered, glancing nervously toward their house. "Just pay her something. She's not right since losing her job. I'm scared of what she'll do if you keep refusing." His fear was palpable, and when I pressed him, he just shook his head and walked away. Meanwhile, Emily had been making calls. "Dad," she said Sunday, "I filed a report with the state police. My colleague, Detective Harper, is taking it on to avoid any conflict of interest. I didn't catch her meaning then, but I was grateful someone with real authority was stepping in. Tuesday brought more insanity. Our security camera installed after that first notice got Margaret at midnight, in pajamas and a safety vest, measuring our dock with a tape measure, muttering about enforcement protocols. Sarah and I watched the footage over breakfast, torn between laughter and calling for a wellness check. But Thursday's call from Detective Harper froze my blood. "James, have you noticed anything odd about Emily lately?" he asked, his tone grim. Why was he asking about my daughter? What did she have to do with this? The next day, Harper dropped a bombshell. Margaret Hayes isn't who she says. Her real name's Elizabeth Cole, and she fled Virginia after embezzlement charges. This isn't her first fake HOA scam. She'd stolen $90,000 from our neighbors, billing for fake services like elite lawn care in winter and community marina maintenance for a marina that didn't exist. Thomas, it turned out, was cooperating with the police, handing over receipts and recordings. "She forces me to sign fake contracts," he confessed, threatening divorce or worse if I don't. He showed us a gun store receipt, bought a handgun for HOA enforcement. Margaret's harassment went into overdrive after our certified letter refusing her HOA. She followed Sarah to the supermarket, loudly calling her the problem house resident. Sarah came home shaking, describing Margaret trailing her through aisles, photographing her cart. Citations piled up: $100 for excessive birdsong from sparrows in our tree, $150 for a mailbox 3 inches too wide. Sarah started a binder. We had 38 violations in 10 days, each more unhinged than the last. Mrs. Thompson whispered at our mailbox, "She's been terrorizing us for months. My grandkids can't play outside," she screams about disrupting peace. We paid her fake fees to avoid her rage. Thomas later revealed Margaret's obsession with law enforcement. "She's asking about deputies' salaries, their cars, if they live here," he said, showing us another gun receipt. The FBI took over, citing wire fraud across state lines. They found Margaret had stalked Emily, photographing her apartment, workplace, even her morning coffee shop. Her notebooks had chilling notes. "Is the sheriff's daughter the issue? Eliminate to restore order." She'd called the courthouse, claiming to investigate a deputy for interfering with compliance. The community meeting Margaret held was a horror show. Mrs. Thompson said Margaret displayed maps, photos of houses, and a target list, ranting about armed enforcement. Only 6 people attended, but her manic presentation terrified them. Meanwhile, our accountant neighbor, Daniel, exposed her fraud publicly. $90,000 stolen through ghost vendors and forged contracts. Neighbors, finally free of fear, flooded the FBI with tips. Thomas, trapped at home, told us Margaret practiced arrests in their garage, using a mannequin labeled non-compliant resident. When he called it insane, she threatened suicide. Her social media post pushed things over the edge. "Tomorrow, 3 p.m., final compliance enforcement. Armed team restoring order. Non-compliant residents face consequences." Photos of our house, marked with targets, and Emily's car labeled authority threat accompanied it. The FBI moved in. Emily's sheriff colleagues monitored our street, and Mrs. Thompson organized a neighborhood watch, urging everyone to stay inside. At 3 p.m. on a sweltering Wednesday, July 23, 2025, Margaret rolled up in her golf cart, now a mockery of a police vehicle with stolen beacons and Christmas lights. She wore a cobbled-together cop costume, upside-down sunglasses, a toy badge, a belt with clipboards, and pepper spray. Thomas trailed in their car, head in hands. "James," she screamed through a bullhorn. "Submit to inspection or face citizen's arrest." Emily stepped out, calm as ever. "Ma'am, what's your business here?" she asked, her voice steady. Margaret snapped. "You? The problem daughter, defying community order." She drew the gun, hands shaking wildly. "Refusing my HOA is criminal. I'm making a citizen's arrest." Neighbors dialed 911 as Emily, unflinching, said, "Ma'am, lower the weapon. You're committing assault." Then, in a moment that stopped my heart, Emily revealed her secret. "I'm Sheriff Emily Carter, badge 5291. You're pointing a gun at a law enforcement officer. Drop it now." Margaret's face collapsed, shock, denial, then realization. "You're lying," she stammered. but her gun wavered. FBI agents emerged, weapons drawn. "Elizabeth Cole, you're under arrest," Agent Daniels barked. Margaret crumpled, the gun falling. "I lost everything," she sobbed. "This HOA was all I had." Thomas ran forward with evidence boxes, shouting, "Here's everything records, forgeries." As they cuffed her, Margaret screamed, "You think this ends? I know your daughter's secrets." The federal courthouse became our second home. Margaret, aka Elizabeth, faced charges of wire fraud, assault on an officer, and stalking. Her scams spanned 3 states, defrauding 52 families of $360,000 over 6 years. Emily recused herself but provided insights that shaped the case. Thomas testified about years of abuse, his recordings sealing her fate. She got 27 years, plus $360,000 in restitution. Her prison antics filing grievances about non-compliant jail conditions earned her the nickname HOA Queen. Our community healed. Mrs. Thompson led a real HOA, transparent and fair. Property values soared 35%. Emily's career thrived. She became a lieutenant. Her case studied nationwide. Sarah's garden bloomed, a symbol of recovery. Thomas rebuilt his life, marrying a kind teacher and speaking on abuse survival. Our story sparked federal laws protecting seniors from HOA scams. But Margaret's final words haunted me. What secrets did she claim to know about Emily? Thomas later handed over a recording. Margaret plotting to neutralize Emily, believing she was an undercover agent. It added years to her sentence, but left me wondering what else might she have uncovered? What do you think Margaret meant by Emily's secrets? Could there be more to this story we still don't know? Have you ever faced a fake authority figure like this? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this gripped you. And subscribe for more stories where ordinary people face wild situations. Stay bold and never bow to fake power.